And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with the Game Boy Geek.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek, and today we're going to check out the game called Scattergories. This game's still available today. It's been out since 1988, and it's still at all the big box stores. You can pretty much find it anywhere. It's for 2 to 6 players, and for ages 12 and up. It's really sort of a medium weight party game. There's a lot of thinking involved, which is probably why it's 12 plus. It can get kind of tense. It makes your brain do circles, but it's still fun. It's still really a good, enjoyable time. So let's take it out, look at the components, show how it's played, and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, here's a setup for Scattergories. The object of Scattergories is to, at the end of 3 different rounds, have the most points. Let's talk about how you do points. Each of these little lists here has certain things. So in list 1 we have a boy's name, US cities, things that are cold, school supplies, pro sports teams, insects, breakfast foods, furniture, TV shows, things found in the ocean, presidents, and product names. And at the beginning of 1, 2, 3 rounds of each round, someone's going to roll a dice. There's 20 different letters here, and this one's S. So people will say S. Now every person is on this same list. Everyone in this case is using list number 1. And then the timer is started, and the timer will go, and everybody's trying to write down something that starts with S. So a boy's name, you might write down Sam. Then you go to the next one. US cities, you might write down Sacramento because it starts with an S. Everything has to start with a letter. Now it's really cool that sometimes you can double up on the points. For example, if it were maybe M for the letter, and maybe it was a fictitious character, if you did Mickey Mouse, since both of those words started with the letter M, you'd get 2 points for that. Now, here's this timer, which is kind of the coolest part, is this timer scares the crap out of anybody. Because when you're doing this, you're thinking really hard. It's usually really quiet, it's really tense, you're getting towards the end, you're trying to get the last few ones. You can skip any of these and move on. You can do them in any order, really. You don't have to go in order of the numbers on the list. You can kind of go in any order here. And when you're doing that, you're thinking really hard, and this timer's going, and you have this number, and when it clicks and stops, oh, everybody always jumps. It's really funny. Every time you know it's coming, you still jump. It's really hilarious. Anyway, so at the end of the round, you go through, and some person just goes on down the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They do each one, and they say what they said for a boy's name. They might say, "I said Sam," and someone else might go, "Oh, I had Sam too." So if anybody else has the same answer as you, you do not get a point. You're trying to think of creative things that other people won't think about. So if anybody else has the answer that you have, neither of you get a point. You only get a point if you're the only person to have that answer for that letter for that category. Now, if you have one and sometimes it might be a gray area and somebody's challenging you and say, "No, I don't really think that fits that one." Everybody votes, including you, and a majority rules. If it's a tie, that does not count. So you do this for rounds 1, and then when that round's over, you roll a new letter, keep the same list, and now we have an R, and you start with R, and you start the timer back over, and you go again, and you do the same scoring for round 2, and you do the same scoring for round 3. At the end of the 3 rounds, the player that has the most points is the one that wins the game. Now, this is just list 1. In this game, we had a bunch of them. We have, there's list 2. There's up to 12 different lists here. And there's list 2. There's list 3. On the back of that is list 4. And, there's all sorts of different things here that you could see. So it comes with 12 lists, the game, but there's a lot of replay value here because, when you're rolling the die, you've got obviously 20 different combinations of each list, and then you've got 12 different lists. So there's a lot of different replayability here. There's also tons of expansion packs you can buy. There's so many of them out there for sports-specific things or arts or entertainment or just more general type of lists. So the replayability is fine. By the time you get back through 12 lists, and even if on the same list, if you were to play it again with 3 new letters, it's going to be just as hard. So to have 12 lists and to have 20 different letters that you can roll, even in the base game, there's a lot of replay value here. So in a sense, that's how you play Scattergories. Well, there you have Scattergories. Well, I played this game a ton when I was a kid, growing up, going camping, hanging out with the family. all around the holidays. We played this a lot. In fact, I actually played this about 6 months ago at a cookout where one of my relatives brought it out just for old times. You know, if you like to think a lot and you really like the tension of all that, it can be a great game. If you don't like that thinking and you don't really want to be too serious and it just makes your head hurt to think of all the things, you probably won't like this game. But people that do like to think love this game. You know, so it always happens where you're so intently writing down the answers, and when that timer goes off, click, everyone jumps every time. You know it's coming. You hear the timer speeding up, and boom, it clicks, and you just go crazy and you jump up like the house just exploded. It's fun every time just to even laugh at that. But anyway, as a thinking game, it actually is very good. You know, it really gets your brain going, makes you think. You know, overall, it's a good thinking game if you like that sort of thing. Me, I do like that sort of thing, so I like it. But some of you might not. If you don't like the thinking, it's probably not the best game for you. There's probably other party games for you.
So much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.